Everybody take out your phones. The title of my talk is Lessons in 140 Characters, and I bet you know what that means, right? So on each one of my slides, I just have one tweet. And the reason I did that is for a few reasons. One, keep it simple, stupid. I think that we're talking about some very complex topics. If I have one very digestible tweet on a slide, chances are you might pay attention. The second is that I wanted to pick a language that you use. You guys are young, technology savvy. Probably a lot of you are Twitter users, right? Yeah. So hopefully you can generate some interest. That's the third reason I did it. Hopefully you can generate some interest for both John Lothian's intern series and for my book. So I did all the work for you, so all you have to do is tweet. That's my Twitter handle. Okay, Architects of Electronic Trading. I wrote a book that covers views on technology, where it's going, and why it should matter to you. And why should it matter to you? It should matter to you alone from self-interest. So technology is an immensely growing field, as many of you know. How many of you are self-proclaimed technologists? No? Programmers? Yeah? Well, I don't know about you, but if I look on LinkedIn, if I looked on Twitter, most of the jobs I see are not for marketing consultants. No. They're for technology professionals. And that is something that's growing. So in my book, I interviewed 20 leaders from 16 different firms, and they tell you where they think technology is going. They talk about common themes, they talk about new emerging technologies, and they also provide some far-off predictions for what could change the industry, like quantum computing or wireless power. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a believer in interns. And I think especially on the technology side, interns bring a lot of skills that we don't have. Take me, for example. 3 months ago, I didn't use Twitter, and now I use Twitter. I'm not saying that I'm a professional at it, but it's not just social media where you bring skills. It's real programming skills. It's new programming languages. It's ways to approach problems that we don't think about. You guys are valuable, and in a lot of industries where we cannot necessarily hire young people, it's so valuable to have you come as interns and teach old dogs new tricks. So there are a couple of major themes in my book, and one is that we can build better partnerships by bridging the knowledge gap between technology and business. A lot of people talked to you today already, and as I was listening, I thought, wow, that's a lot of new terms to expect interns to know. It took me 15 years to understand all of the terms in both technology and markets. So what I did was I interviewed people, and I put their thoughts together in Q&A format so that you could digest it all. How do we know what technology can do for us on the business side unless we understand it? I think a lot of times people on the business side shut down because we don't understand what these technology terms are. They're scary. And if you talk to people on the business side as technologists, and if we on the business side understand a little more about what you're saying, then we can better understand how we can use technology together to form a partnership to solve really challenging issues that are coming our way. I cover specific technologies and broad themes: agility, speed, risk, and the important technology-human partnership. So agility, does anybody know why agility is important? As Carlos talked about, markets move fast. We have to be able to react fast. But did you know that if your technology is what's called enterprise class technology is up and running, you have a solid technology foundation in place at your firm, you can worry about the business of markets and worry less about keeping your technology up to speed. Speed. Yes, Carlos also mentioned the fact that for HFT players, for proprietary trading firms, especially in the Chicago area, speed matters. But also I talk to people who say we're taking a step back from speed. It's too expensive for us to try to compete at this elite level. So we're going to try and derive our edge from something different. For example, new sources of information. And then risk is a big topic in my book. Risk is something that we're not doing well enough, according to at least 3 or 4 people in the book. So they say, okay, we have all this great technology, but we're not utilizing it to make sure that our markets are safer. Some people advocate for industry-wide risk controls. But another thing that people talk about is this technology-human partnership. So we can use risk controls and put them in place to catch things like fat finger errors or people pressing the wrong key willfully, people overstepping their bounds. But when it comes to more complex analyses of big positions, multi-legged positions, you need smart people evaluating data. So technology is never going to take over, but it can assume a more important role. So I also did a heat map of the words that appear in my book because I thought, let's use technology to analyze a book on technology. So interns, thank you. Melanie, I couldn't do this by myself, thank you. So risk is one of the main themes in the book. You see the other things. Does anybody know what an FPGA is? Yeah, right? A lot of people in the industry don't. And so what I did was I talked to somebody and we really defined it. A field programmable gate array is something that allows you to custom code a chip to do what you want it to do. One of the advantages is that you can wipe it clean, markets react quickly. You can reprogram without going and purchasing another chip. A GPU, video game card that you can use to do things like parallel processing. So you get the picture. There are a lot of terms we don't necessarily understand, and we can utilize this technology if we better understand what it is. Communication's big. Big data, social media, cloud. So this is a nice way of looking at what appears in the book. We have a lot of challenges on the horizon. There's competition, cutthroat competition between elite firms. There are regulatory changes on the horizon. And another thing that emerged is that change itself is something that is daunting for many firms. So a lot of these firms are connected to, the trading firms are connected to myriad systems, automated trading systems, exchanges, back office systems. They have upgrades, mandatory upgrades on maybe a yearly basis. But on top of that, firms are taxed with finding the next technology that's going to give them a competitive edge. And how can you do that with a shortage of IT talent? There's a shortage of qualified people. So we can work together on the business and technology side. Maybe we can help alleviate some of these problems. One of the nicest things for me about writing a book on technology is that I was able to, A, expand my network and learn all these new things. But I was talking to people who were so excited. And we've had a lot of problems in our industry recently. We've had scandals, we've had financial crises. Well, technology is a really great story. It's one that's growing, and it's one that has power to move things forward. What can you imagine? I mean, right now I don't see too many people sending around Instagram market charts. Maybe we could be doing that. Maybe that can help us in some way. So you're not old enough, but on Saturday mornings after cartoons, they would have these little public service messages that talked about never stop learning. Tech leaders ask questions, and that is another nice thing that I learned. Technology leaders, 3 or 4 of them, stress the fact that they ask questions because that's part of the scientific method. There's no shame in asking questions. There's no shame in admitting you don't know what's going on. Ask and learn. I learned the most. You can grow your network by asking people questions, and I think that John has admirably shown that people in this industry are very willing to share what they know. I think we all need to give John a round of applause here because intern programs didn't exist when we were younger, and in a way, he's a mentor to you all, just as he has been to me.